Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Hazel here, and today I have a book review for my favorite new book of 2019, The Light Between Worlds by Laura E. Weymouth. If you have watched any of my videos before or follow me on Twitter, you have probably heard or seen me recommend and rave about this book before, and I decided it was time for me to actually sit down and make a video about this. As you may have seen if you watched my England and Ireland book haul, I love this book so much that I bought a second copy of it, the UK cover, because they're both gorgeous. Don't make me pick one of these. I love them both. So, to start off with a summary, The Light Between Worlds is more or less a retelling of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. It follows Evelyn and Philippa Hapwell, who, along with their brother Jamie, lived in England and were growing up there during World War II. One night, during a bombing, the three of them went down to their bomb shelter in their backyard, and they were transported to a magical world called the Woodlands. The Woodlands is very much a Narnia-esque type world. It has an animal who is the more or less leader of the world. In this case, it is a deer named Service. And there are all sorts of different fantastical creatures and beings and everything. And these three siblings find themselves in this world and find that this world is also facing war and that they have to help them avoid this war. So Evelyn, Philippa, and Jamie spend 5 years in the Woodlands trying to help them prevent war, and when that isn't possible, to help them fight in the war. Eventually, the three siblings come back to our world to find that no time has passed, and Philippa and Jamie are excited and happy to be back in the real world. But Evelyn loved the Woodlands and felt like that was her home, and she is distraught to be back with no way to return. This is devastating for Evelyn, and for a long time, Philippa tries to help her, tries to comfort her, but eventually Evelyn goes missing, and no one knows where she is, what happened to her, if she's still alive, and Philippa has to come back and figure out what happened. So I'm not going to spoil the book, but obviously there are very heavy themes of depression and suicide and self-harm and everything like that. So if that would be upsetting or triggering for you, I would suggest not reading this book, or at least taking it very slowly, because these issues are dealt with in a very real, heavy way. So this book is broken up into 2 parts. The first part follows Evelyn. It starts 5 years after the siblings have come back from the Woodlands, so Evelyn is now the same age she was when they left the Woodlands. At the beginning, it is the end of summer, and so we follow Evelyn as she is going back to school, to a boarding school, where she is going to see friends again. And on her way there, she meets a boy who is attending the nearby boys' boarding school, and a friendship starts up with them that eventually develops into more than a friendship. And through all of this, we watch Evelyn struggle with depression, struggle with everything that is happening. And Evelyn's section ends in a spot that, without spoiling anything, it's quite ambiguous what happened or what is going to happen. We then switch to her sister Philippa's perspective, and it starts with her being told that her sister Evelyn has disappeared, no one knows what happens to her, and they're not sure if she's alive or not. So for the rest of the book, we follow Philippa as she tries to figure out what happened to her sister, tries to come to terms with the possibility that her sister may be dead and it might be her fault. Philippa also meets a boy while all this is happening, and a romance develops between the two of them. The chapters of this book alternate between the present and the past, and the past doesn't move at the same pace that the present does in terms of the chapters. The flashbacks start right before they went to the Woodlands and shows how they got there, and then goes through their entire time there, and then continues on a bit past that and shows the immediate aftermath of being back and everything that did to the siblings. One thing I noticed about the book after I had finished it and I was reflecting back on it is that the two sisters have very different ways of dealing with what happened during their time in the Woodlands. Evelyn has more of a focus on images relating to the Woodlands, and when she is back in the real world, she focuses more on words. There is a heavy emphasis on poetry in the real world during her section of the book. On the other hand, Philippa's experience in the Woodlands was very closely tied with words, with letters she wrote, and so she associates the Woodlands with words, but in the present day, her part focuses a lot on images, in particular a lot of paintings. This just really stood out to me as a very intentional thing and something that I thought was just amazingly well done, because both of the sisters, in their own way, have reasons to want to distract themselves from what happened in the Woodlands, try to move past that, and have a normal life in the real world. And so while words and images aren't exactly opposites, where one sister had images associated with the Woodlands, she tries to distract herself with words, and where one had words, she distracts herself with images. And it's not at all as blatantly obvious in the book as I'm making it sound. It is a very subtle thing that I just thought was amazing, and I really loved that. Another thing that I thought was excellently done is that while both sisters have some element of romance in their part, it is very much emphasized that this romance can't fix things. So often, media tries to portray romance and sex as a cure for mental illness, a cure for depression. The idea that, oh, this person is depressed or this person has trauma, but if they find the right person and they're happy with them, that'll just fix all their problems with nothing else. That'll do it. And those books are frequently criticized for that, and rightfully so, because that's just not how it works. So the budding romance with Evelyn doesn't cure her depression. The romance that Philippa finds doesn't fix her anxiety and guilt relating to her sister or the trauma that she experienced in the Woodlands. This is a very minor spoiler, but there's even a scene where Philippa and her love interest are moving toward having sex for the first time, and her love interest stops them because he realizes that's not what she needs. Sex isn't going to fix the problems she's having, and that she doesn't really 100% want sex just for sex. She is trying to distract herself. So this book very much addresses that and says that these things won't fix mental illness, won't fix trauma. You're not going to be cured from your depression or trauma or anything else just because you found the perfect person. On top of all that, this book has a very beautiful lyrical writing style that I pretty much immediately fell in love with. I love writing like that, and this book was just perfect in that regard. This book also, because it is set in the aftermath of World War II, deals a lot with loss. In Philippa's part, we see a lot of loss related to Evelyn because she may or may not be gone forever, and Philippa doesn't know. But it also deals with the loss related to war. There are characters who have lost family members, characters who have lost body parts. And so, on top of all of the other very heavy topics and themes, we have the theme of loss and how to deal with that and how it can affect a person or a family. So I call this book a retelling of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe because The Woodlands is very, very clearly based on or inspired by Narnia, but the book doesn't focus on the woodlands. Maybe a quarter of the book is actually set in the woodlands, but most of it takes place in our world with the sisters trying to deal with everything that happened there. The book focuses much more on what coming back from a world like that will do to people and what dealing with things in that world can do to trying to deal with things in our world. As I understand it, the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire also deals with that idea. I have never read that series, but I am interested in reading it, so I can't really compare the two, but the basic idea of coming back from a portal world is the same. So if you like that series or that premise, or you just want to read a fantasy that deals with these heavy topics, I highly, highly recommend picking up The Light Between Worlds. It's my favorite new book of 2019. I love it so much. I can't recommend it enough, so please, if you can, check it out. So that is all I have to say in this review. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will check out this book. If you have, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. And if you haven't, let me know if you are interested in reading it. I would love to hear other people's thoughts on this book. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel to see more videos from me. I will leave my social media links down in the description so you can follow me on Goodreads, Instagram, and Twitter. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.